Welcome to this demonstration video for the Chamber app. If you're doing workflows that involve a council chamber or town hall meetings or anywhere where people have assigned seats, this is a front-end application that controls any current TriCaster model that will make running the PTZ cameras and bringing titles up easy. So the way this application works is it runs inside a web browser on another computer. And you can see on the screen here, I currently have the app running with two rooms in it, a room just named room and a room named demo. The first thing to realize with this is that you can have the application designed for multiple rooms. So if you had a client that, for example, had two different rooms with different cameras and they wanted to be able to control either one of these, we could set that up in here and have the interface laid out for the appropriate room. Or even with a single room, if there's different layouts for the room, maybe they've got different room configurations, or maybe there's different seating arrangements depending upon the production you're doing, we can set that up for those different categories as well. Let's pick our room and hit start. And when you open this up, you can see this is what the basic interface looks like. And across the top, it will show us some live video sources. On the lower left side is an overview of the room, and on the lower right side are some controls in here. Starting with the top, the application does have the ability to control up to 12 PTZ cameras, or really 12 inputs of any type. They don't all have to be PTZs, but they could all be PTZs as well. And then it also shows you the output of the system and then a preview window of what your next shot is. Very similar to what you find on the TriCaster. In the lower right area is the overview of the room, and we have our different buttons in here. These buttons can be pre-programmed with the people's names on the buttons, and by clicking on a button in here, it will automatically switch the preview window to that source in here. So you can see as I selected here, it's put that camera up, it's the person's name in there. If I select other sources, you can see it moving the PTZ shot and updating the title in there. And then to bring that channel to air, you just click on the preview window, and this will send it over and potentially bring the title up depending upon how your title settings are configured. And now I can go and select other cameras in here. And you can see in this case, as I select, it's sending this PTZ around. Each target can have a primary and a secondary camera set up for it. So if the primary camera happens to be currently covering another target, it can automatically go to the secondary camera. You do have the ability to also have no secondary camera, in which the camera will move in regardless, or we can also have it set where the camera will not move even if there is not a secondary camera, so that you don't have on-screen motion. I happen to have camera 1 set up this way. So for example, if I bring myself to air, you can see it brings this camera on. But now if I select any other camera that happens to be camera 1, you can see the border flash on the program out, alerting me to the fact that this camera is currently on air. There is no secondary camera for it to go to, because that's how this room is currently configured, and it's letting me know that it can't make that motion at this point. I could certainly go to a different channel, pull that up, bring up that camera, and now that camera's been freed up, and you can see now it will move to whatever target I tell it to go to. Over on the side is controls for the switcher. We can choose what kind of transition we want. It will use whatever transition is currently set up in the switcher. The default is a cut, but we can make it default to anything if you wanted to. And then you can choose what speed that transition will occur at. Then below that is all the titling controls. So we can choose how the titles will come on or off. You can either disable this if you're going to control the titles manually, or you can have the system automatically do titling for you, and you can also specify how long the title will be on air. So for example, if I bring my shot to air, you can see when it comes on with the title. It is set to display for 10 seconds, at which point it will bring that title back off automatically. There's also manual DSK control buttons for this title. So if you want to bring the title on or off yourself, you can do that as well. So clicking these buttons operate them just like the TriCaster would, and then you can control that functionality from here. If you want, you can also turn off the titles. This will just leave the titles on, and then as you bring titles to air, they'll automatically update as new ones are selected. So for example, if I go to this one, send it over, you can see the title updates right on output. There also is intelligence in here as well. If you happen to select a title that has no title information, and let me bring this title down, and you bring this title to air, you'll see that it will not bring the title on because the title's blank and it won't display anything. There's also controls in here to push titles to air or send your topic to air. This could be information that is set up for the room. And there's also a master audio mute function that can be set up in here as well if you want the ability to just mute the output of the system or turn it back on. Below that is the database. And this allows you to work with all of the pre-programmed people that have been programmed into this room. Now, this is a simple text file that can be edited offline and updated as needed. So if a new layout of buttons needed to be set up in here with where the people are, it would not be hard to do. You can also load your own layouts by clicking this plus button. You could go navigate on your local system, find a new configuration file to load in, but the system will automatically load a file in when it starts. And this file can be set up per room, so you can have each room with its own unique listing of people, or we can also just have a global database that gets loaded regardless, that will just have a bunch of people in it, depending upon whichever way you want it to work. Clicking this drop-down list will show all the different people, and you can also select somebody and it will even show you what button they are currently highlighted on in the interface if they are in there. And then of course you could click on that button to send the camera to that target if you wanted to, so you can see where it goes. You can also update and edit this information. So if this person was no longer in the second district, I could change that and hit update, and you'll see that now when I select them again, that information has been changed. We can also add completely new people in here. So let's just say I want to add a new person, and this is their info down here. We can hit update on that, and you'll see that now a new person has been added at the end of the list with that information. You can also assign any of these people to buttons. So if I wanted to assign it to replace this one, now new person has been placed onto that button. You can also clear out buttons if nobody is sitting there as well, and now that button is cleared. So hopefully this gives you a nice quick overview of how the Chamber app works. This can be customized to a fairly high degree based upon the client's needs. So it's just something that your client, and New Tech Professional Services needs to get together on, and we can make sure this app will work for what their workflow will be. Thank you.